think that it's about time that our community, who's been in this country for over 100 years, has an Arab American Muslim congresswoman.
I am working and doing my best to spread the knowledge and the faith that I have.
I thought through comedy we can build alliances with other communities, which is really important for us as Arab Americans. There's too few of us in this country, I think, to make a difference politically.
Major funding for Arab American Stories was provided by Mohammed and Jamie El Arian, the Arab American Community of Michigan, the Arab American Community of Houston, Texas, the American Syrian Arab Cultural Association of Michigan. Additional funding was provided by
Community is at the heart of American life. Social services provider and activist Linda Sarsour serves new immigrants and youth in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Imam Taha Tawil maintains spiritual vitality at the oldest mosque in America, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Dean Obeidallah performs across the country with a group of comedians who shatter popular myths and stereotypes. Linda Sarsour represents a new generation of Arab Americans dedicated to service. Her fierce Brooklyn spirit drives her leadership both locally and on the national stage.
My name is Linda Sarsour. I'm the director at the Arab American Association of New York. I am born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm a social worker, an activist, and a mom. Arab American, how may I help you? عليكم السلام. أهلا وسهلا. Okay, so انتوا جيتوا قبل أسبوعين وبدك تسجلي أولادك بالمدرسة؟ اوكي فيكي تيجي علينا يوم الاثنين وانا ببعث معاكي وحده بتشتغل معنا بالجمعيه عامله اجتماع. My favorite thing about the work that I do is when a woman comes to our organization in a domestic violence situation and we help her make her safe and we help her access public benefits and we make her feel like she has more opportunities and get her into a job training program and she comes back to us 2 years later and she's a donor. Or when a Yemeni woman who had no formal education in her home country comes to our program, learns English, and comes back with her citizenship certificate and a big plate of sabaya, which is a very special Yemeni sweet that they make. And that just brings like joy to my heart. How many people wish that we lived in a world where it was okay to be who we are and everyone on TV thought we were the coolest thing? How many people wish we lived in a world like that? Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world like that. And that brings me to why you guys are here today. In order for us not to live in a world like that, we need every single one of you, see I'm looking at all of you, to be a part of this. And the reason why the Jam'iyya is here, the reason why you guys are here is because we need young people.
And what started me off 10 years ago was a family relative who had just opened the Arab American Association of New York, which was supposed to be a kind of social service agency helping people out. And obviously the idea behind the Arab American Association came before 9/11. When 9/11 happened, it was like the whole course of what that organization was going to be changed. I saw grown men from New York who were going to register under a program called NSEERS, where they asked for all males over the age of 16 to register with immigration. And I remember, interpreting for people at the windows. And then I started noticing that there were some that were going to the 10th floor. So I went up to an officer, I said, where are these men going? And they said, they're going to the FBI. And I started taking down people's names and taking down phone numbers of their loved ones because I didn't know if they were coming back. I mean, working on these cases for the past 10 years in my organization, it's kind of a lot to go home with at night. Like, you think about these families and then thinking about women whose husbands are in detention centers that are disgusting and unsanitary, going there, not finding their husband there, they were moved to another facility. I mean, it's just a lot to hold, emotionally burdens you kind of to feel like your people are going through this and there's really not much that you can do but to make sure that their stories are being told.
We're in a country where our Congress doesn't represent the people. I don't see people that look like me or have the same priorities that communities of color have. And I think that it's about time that our community, who's been in this country for over 100 years, has an Arab American Muslim congresswoman. So I'm hoping to start small, start in the city council, and work my way up. Brooklyn is such a wonderful place, and people always say Brooklyn has someone from everywhere, but it also has Arabs from everywhere. We're all one community. I don't see divisions like, oh, you're Syrian and this one's Egyptian. It's just such a beautiful place to live. My parents moved here to Sunset Park, Brooklyn in the late 70s. My family is originally from the West Bank, from a town called El Bire. I have 6 siblings. I'm the oldest child. Growing up in a very traditional Palestinian family, and my parents thought it was the right thing to do, that when I was 17 years old and graduating high school a year early, that I was ready for marriage. In our community, you don't say really no to your parents because your parents love you and I'm sure they want the best for you. So I got married at the age of 17. I had 3 children by the time I was 24 years old. I would never do an arranged marriage for my children. They marry who they love. I'm teaching them all the values that they need to have. I obviously would love for my children to marry, you know, Arabs and Muslims, but they are free to do what they want.
I think it's important that we keep an open mind.
And that we invite people who aren't just Arabs, like other people of different ethnicities.
And that we continue to push ourselves to establish connections with people that may not be the same as us, who may not believe in the same things as us.
So I'm 31 years old, and in the Arab American community, the next activist is about 57. So there's a 25-year gap between activists now and those elders. And we thought it was important to start a program where we train kids to be community organizers. We train them to identify their own issues, whether it's in their school, in their mosque, or in their church, or wherever it is that they feel is their community. We teach the kids to be facilitators of their own groups, just to make sure that they feel empowered and feel like this is their own project and their own initiative.
I want to thank every one of you guys for attending our event.
Linda is an inspiration. She's there to motivate us all the time, and she's just always there by our side to help us. It's just been a wonderful experience for me.
They are young women and young men, fearless. I think that that's such an inspiration to their families and to our community, because we do have people in our community who are afraid and who don't want to speak up. We're just building a pipeline of future leaders.
Now here's the second layout we have in mind. We must vote on one of the themes that the website provides.
Our newspaper is called The Amplifier, which is possibly the first youth newspaper out in New York, so we're really excited, and we're just getting a whole bunch of youth to write, and it's just amazing because we're able to make an outreach as well as tell our stories, and our perspective and our opinions are going to be heard.
I'm excited about putting my point of view out there.
It's a means of, you know, connecting with the younger generation.
A lot of times when you're young, you think that you don't have a voice, and Linda always says you are the future, and she says it constantly. The youth have power. Whenever something important is happening, she doesn't go to the adults, she comes to the youth.
I'm hoping that what I'm doing is creating a legacy and opening an opportunity for other young people to do the work that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, where you can have this and then like this on the side of the video section. So.
I mean, I always grew up with the energy that I have. Obviously now I'm focusing in a certain area, but my family gives me inspiration. I sometimes sit back and say, why am I doing this? What am I doing to myself? I could just go work in corporate America and have a 9-to-5 job. But I think about what kind of world do I want to leave for my children. And I also feel like being Palestinian, I think that's a special energy that we have. It's about something that connects us to something much larger than we are. I feel like if you're not passionate about something, you don't have a drive for it. And I think the original passion that I had and the one that I continue to have is Palestine. And I think that's what drives me the most.
Imam Taha Tawil leads the oldest mosque in America. As the Arab American founders prospered and moved to the suburbs, he finds himself with a diverse congregation that shares his pride in the Mother Mosque's history.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. My name is Taha Tawil. I am from Jerusalem, and I came to United States way back in 1983. And we are in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and the Mother Mosque of America. This mosque is the first mosque to be built from the ground up. It started in the early 30s, where the community put their efforts with a big celebration on February 15, 1934. I want you to know that this mosque represents the identity and the dignity of the Muslims, which serve this country for generation and generation. And I see that the problem is not Islamic or Christian or Jewish. It's a human. It's just a human nature. From Noah to Abraham to Moses to Jesus to Muhammad, the mission of the prophets is to build a human being, to build them well balanced and well character and well personality. We Muslims in America live in peace and harmony. We are in September 11, we have double jeopardy. First, we have Muslims and Arabs killed in that attack. Number two, we are Americans like the others. And we also have the pain, and we cannot be blamed for it. We are part of the community. So thank God the people know this, most of them. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Please, Allah, make this gathering a gathering of compassion, a gathering of peace, and a gathering of understanding. Oh Allah, we thank you for this moment that you allow us to gather and to share knowledge with each other and to understand our way of life. Thank you, Allah, for all the prophets and the messengers that you sent to us to be leaders and to show us the way, the truth, and the light. At the Mother Mosque during September 11, I did find some flowers on the steps of the mosque. I did have many messages on the answering machine saying, we know that you are not part of this group, you are Americans and we love you, and we know that this cannot be from people who live among us. This mosque is over 100 years, the community in Iowa. People are civilized here, sophisticated. They know what is right and what is wrong. And any terrorism is wrong, and any human blood is shed is wrong. This is against the teaching of God. Welcome, welcome, Sarah. Oh, thank you.
This is in Urdu,
correct,
and Arabic.
Arabic and Urdu.
Right. I think especially because of 9/11, we have a preconceived idea that is, and because of the tragedy that occurred there, it's a challenge. And I think as more people really learn and understand, we're all human beings.
Whereas we became close to the teacher in order to become closer to the Prophet Muhammad, in order to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, and like in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it gives you a righteous guide. And so in one of the verses, in the early verses, Allah give you a righteous guide. And that's how I look at the Imam. But it's more intimate because, like I told you earlier, he said he taught us the same way that he taught his children. And so that's a very intimate relationship. And it's like a weave been woven, and the bond is Islam. And that's my relationship with the Imam Taha.
And sometimes, you know, I look back over the years and look at the advantage of having a relationship with him. And if at the time you don't notice that you're picking up the knowledge, it's like water. One thing the Imam did say one time is that if you had a drop of water that continuously fell on a boulder, the water would split the boulder. And that's just how the relationship has been. He's instilled a lot into me, I think into all of us, and it reflects in our lifestyle now. But at the time, you don't even notice it. It's not until you get a little older and wise, and then you can look back at it and be like, man, I was really privileged. That's how that's my relationship with the Imam. I feel privileged to have him as a teacher and a friend.
I am working and doing my best to spread the knowledge and the faith that I have and no one is objecting or no one is stopping me from doing that. And as a chaplain, I am a chaplain in the police department. I am also a chaplain in corrections. I go visit corrections and I do preach there and help others, whether they are Muslim, Christian, Jews, whoever is in my way, I will help him to connect to God and to see how God is great and he go on his own way. I don't force anybody, I just explain. As they say in America, you can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. And that's basically what I value the best in America is my freedom, my humanity, and the dream that I have has been fulfilled.
Dean Obeidallah is on a mission to dismantle the stereotype of the scary Muslim with humor and positive, highly entertaining interaction with his audiences.
A Muslim comic is an oxymoron because there's no laughter in Islam. This tour is part of a broader agenda of Islam to make Americans think that Muslims are like any other American. But they're not. Actually, they are soldiers of Allah. That's what they say. My last name is Obeidallah. I am the servant of Allah. So maybe I am the soldier of Allah as well. I just hope you never feel self-conscious or uncomfortable in your own country at any time. It's a true, I'm paying on a credit card, true story. Guy behind the counter picked up my credit card, sees the Allah part, looks at me all weird. He's like, hey buddy, what kind of name is that? Hi, my name is Dean Obeidallah. I'm an Arab-American comedian. I live here in New York City. It's an Arabic name. He goes, what does this mean? So I'm like, well, translate it to English. It means peaceful, friendly Arab. Tonight I'm producing the Big Brown Christmas Show at the Broadway Comedy Club on 53rd Street and 8th Avenue in Midtown Manhattan. Hey, Howard. Okay, so not open. Probably 10 minutes. There's really no religious connotation to it. It's just called a Christmas show because it's 2 weeks before Christmas. We don't care if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Buddhist, if you're Christian, whatever your background is. If you're brown, tonight's a holiday party for all of us without any religious connotations whatsoever to it. I've usually produced things that are just Arab-centric, the Arab American Comedy Festival. I co-produced that with my friend Maysoon Zayed here in New York for the last 8 years. Or I did Arabs Gone Wild tour. But I wanted to do something that's more inclusive and beyond just Arab. So this one's brown, so we include anyone who's brown, Arab and Indian, Pakistani, Afghani, Iranian, everyone. We put them all in together. And it adds more diversity to the comedy. I thought through comedy we can build alliances with other communities, which is really important for us as Arab Americans. There's too few of us in this country, I think, to make a difference politically. We need to build alliances and have a coalition of other people with similar backgrounds, similar interests. My dad's Palestinian Muslim, my mom's Italian and Catholic. We were raised with both faiths growing up in our house. It was culturally, Islam was a big part because we had no pork or alcohol in the house. That was a big thing because of my father being Muslim. And, he taught me Muslim prayers, but my father didn't go to the mosque. He wasn't the most religious person, but he was certainly in touch with his faith, and it was important to him. I didn't really connect with my heritage, my Arab heritage, as much until 9/11. And the seeds for whatever I am today were planted pre-9/11, but they didn't grow into what I am now and what I'm doing and what motivates me until after 9/11, until I saw the backlash against Arab Americans and Muslim Americans in this country. Right there, 155. We're going to the edit room for the documentary I'm co-producing called The Muslims Are Coming, about our tour in the South and the West, doing all free shows with Muslim American comedians and trying to reach out to non-Muslims through comedy. 6th floor. That's where in a little we sublet space from a bigger regular office. We're just there in the back, editing, long hours. All the touring is done. And that's essentially what the structure of the movie is, what's up on the wall, but it keeps evolving. We're going to go to places where I think that they've never met a Muslim American before. And all they know about is what they saw on TV, which basically is not good, let's be honest. We met a lot of great people. Most people open-minded in America, most people not walking around going, I hate Muslims. What we really found out, people did have questions about Islam, though they had sincere questions, and we did our best to answer them. This is sort of a natural outgrowth of just trying to use comedy as a form of activism, frankly. It's just not going away. In fact, polls would indicate that it's actually getting worse in America, that more Americans now have problems with Muslims, view them more suspiciously or less American than they did right after 9/11. You know, Muslim and Arab mean the same thing to most Americans. So when you see negative comments about Muslims, doesn't matter if you're Arab Christian or Arab Jewish. If you're Arab, people think you're all the same. So, you know, it's a struggle not just for Muslims, it's a struggle for, I think, anyone who could be perceived as Muslim, any Arab person, any brown person, frankly. Comedy is the connector. Comedy is the thing that makes you laugh and want to come see the movie. And while you're getting that sugar of comedy, perhaps you're going to learn some stuff. That's our dream. And that's the movie right there. Apparently now we're on the radar of the leading Islamophobe. One of the 5 leading people on their website, Robert Spencer, has a website called Jihad Watch. So he wrote an article saying essentially that our tour we're being used as tools by the Muslim Brotherhood. Unwitting, we don't know it. He's saying he's trying to inform us of the fact that because we're trying to show Americans that you don't have to be afraid of Muslims, it's part of the Muslim Brotherhood's infiltration plan. But if we were working for the Muslim Brotherhood, you would think they would pay us, at least to finish this film, but they're not. There's another column somebody wrote about me here. They call me the Dean of Comedy, Stealth Jihad, that I have a stealth jihad in the form of entertainment to take over America. I didn't like being a lawyer at all. I did litigation. I didn't find it fulfilling. There was a funniest lawyer competition at the Bar Association, New Jersey, had sponsored. And then I just started going to more open mics. All I know it was a blur. I mean, you get on stage and there's all these people in front of you and you tell some jokes and they laugh at some and they don't laugh at others. It was fun. We have a great show. Welcome to the Big Brown Christmas Show. We have some great brown comics. This is for you to keep.
Awesome.
And you know, we can do the timing together or whatever. Don't worry about the timing. It's a little red light over here. And the comics are all somewhat professional about time and everything. And it should be a good crowd. I don't think it'll be sold out, but I think it'll be really close to sold out.
Well, there's a line upstairs.
There's always a line upstairs because all the brown people show up at 8:15 for an 8 o'clock show. Comics tend to be social, and then there's a point where they become really morose and, you know, very depressed and angry and bitter. But at this level, most of these comics are happy still because they think they might have a career. But I'm doing it long enough where I've come to terms with the fact that I won't have a career. This is all I have. No, you find your way in this business, whatever it might be.
Next to me in conversation, one of the producers of the show. You've seen him on TV, you've seen him on Comedy Central's Axis of Evil comedy tour, CNN, Muslims Are Coming tour, all over. Give it up for Dean Obeidallah, everyone. Give it up for Dean.
Yeah, thanks, Jabron. Nice. Have a nice round of applause for Jabron. Come on. All the brown people you saw. Can you believe how many brown comics there are now? It's something like there's 3 of us now everywhere. I know I look white so that people don't know me. I'm actually inside very, very brown. I'm very, very brown. There'll be Arab American comics who will reach mainstream and already have on some level. No one's a big star yet, but getting increasingly on television. But I think the challenge is not just talking about Arab issues. If you're just talking about being Arab American, or your father has an accent, or your mother has an accent, or the weird food you brought to lunch, to school when you were younger, it's very limited the audience you're going to appeal to. Issue to me is you're not reaching out beyond our community and telling them who we are. So your comedy has to be one that's accessible to mainstream audiences, not just Arab American audiences. You're conditioned to be afraid. Like you're alone on the street, you're a white guy, 4 black men dressed up like Barack Obama woke up, you're not nervous. 4 black men woke up just like G-Unit, maybe you're scared a little bit. We're all conditioned. You see an old Asian woman walking on the street, you don't care. You see an old Asian woman driving the car next to you, you might get nervous. And for the non-Arabs here, you see 4 Arab guys at a deli in New York, you don't care. You see 4 Arab guys about to board your flight speaking Arabic to each other. You then run up to the black guy you used to be afraid of for protection. Shizzle my nizzle, it might be a terrorism.
I am Neda Ulabi. Hope to see you next week for more Arab American stories.
Major funding for Arab American Stories was provided by Mohammed and Jamie El Arian, the Arab American Community of Michigan, the Arab American Community of Houston, Texas, the American Syrian Arab Cultural Association of Michigan. Additional funding was provided by